Hey guys, how are you all doing? Welcome to yet another beautiful, blessed week. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you've had a good week. For me, my week has been phenomenal. I'm really at a point in life where I'm just enjoying soaking in knowledge, just learning, reading, listening to interviews of people with mindsets that I hold high esteem for and compliment. And I'm also trying to challenge myself to grasp different things, like learning different languages. Like for now, I'm trying to learn Spanish. It's exciting, and for you to be better at something, you've got to put in the work that is required, and that's the journey we're on here. And you have to show up consistently in whatever goals that you've set aside for yourself. And I'm hoping it's the same for you on your end, that if you really have something that you've put in your mind to either achieve or be better at or learn, or even if it's just a habit that you want to adopt or stop, you've got to intentionally give it your time, your focus, and your energy. And that's what really separates dreamers and achievers. And for example, like a farmer, if you don't plant, you won't sow. You can't just not plant, and when it's harvest time, you expect a garden of blooming harvest. There's no chance, right? So let's all keep being 1% better every single day, right? And with that, welcome to today's episode. And on today's episode, as the title suggests, I'm hoping that as you listen or reflect in these areas in your life that you don't give yourself enough grace for, I hope that by the end of this episode, your story will be different. But first, you have to know who you are, know your flaws, know what needs to be worked on before you give yourself grace. You need to ask yourself, do you really know who you are? Do you know what you like? Do you know what you dislike? Do you have boundaries? What makes you happy? How do you operate in different settings? Are you this person who has 2 or 3 or even 10 faces? What grounds you? And so on and so on. For you to give yourself grace, for you to be able to feel safe with maybe someone else or with other people, you really have to be honest with who you really are. You need to be able to learn how to feel safe within yourself and safe with yourself. And you need to define who you really are before anyone defines you, or even before the world puts titles on you. For instance, before you became maybe a mom, a dad, you were Angela, you were Michael, you were Christine, you were Ryan, right? Before you became maybe that Dr. something, Director something, or Chef this, before you had that title of your career, you were Josephat, you were Simone, you were Sarah, you were Matthew. Put careers and titles aside. We've also let fear, we've also let doubt, we've also let other things define who we are. How many times have people told us things and we let those things bother us and sting us so bad? We let them define us, we let them label us somehow. But you know what's funny? It's not even funny, but something I've realized and learned, and I myself have actively portrayed, is that the thing that someone tells us or even calls us out on, it's things. It's because it's already under our skin, it's already under our skin. Then this person comes in somehow waters it geez, boy, I'm not mad at you. I'm mad at you reminding me, or the fact that how can you see through it? That's what hurts the most, right? But we have to work on that, okay? And we have to be honest in who we are and what can be done about it. So that's why today I just want to remind you that above all insecurities, above all labeling, above all titles, you are just human. You're only human, and let that ground you when those insecurities try to dominate. You will have fears, you will have doubts, you'll have flaws, you lose track or discipline or even motivation sometimes. You'll experience vulnerable moments, you'll disappoint people or even disappoint yourself sometimes, right? And that's okay, because giving yourself grace means owning all the parts of you that are good, that are bad, that are ugly, all these fears, all these doubts, all these flaws, they have strong effects on us. But likewise, we do have the power to dissociate with them. You have to face them and dissociate from them, because you too have the same power. Talk to them. Tell them what they have. Tell them that they have controlled you for so long. They have defined you for so long. They've made you feel insecure. They've made you feel not deserving. They've stopped you from being in rooms that you deserved to be in. They've stopped you from living your true, authentic self. Some of us have even had maybe traumatic experiences along the way that left a residue that always shows up in how we show up, like in our present lives, in how we perceive ourselves, in how we interact with others, in how we show up in our relationship. It's unfortunate that one had to go through all that, but it gets to a point in life where you choose not to define yourself with what happened to you. You choose not to be comfortable in that scar, in that wound, and you start to intentionally heal. It's now time that fear, that doubt, that trauma, that insecurity departs from you, because their time is done. You've owned your power. You started giving yourself grace, that even when that fear says you can't, you contradict it and remind your fears that you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you, right? That you're no longer that person that was once defined by those insecurities and flaws. You're now doing the opposite of what the fear, the anxiety, the doubt, the low self-esteem has made you believe. And I'm not saying that you will never feel all those emotions again. But moving forward, you won't speak their language. You won't let them define you. You'll speak over them. And change is never going to be easy, even when we know we need to implement it. When you know you need to implement self-work, when you know you need to maybe start going to therapy. But you have to believe in God's guidance, God's grace, and God's power to even change the unchangeable, right? Even growth. You have to make bad art for you to make good art. For me, that's what I've been telling myself through the journey of, maybe example, this podcasting. When I look back at maybe how I started, I was so anxious, so nervous, but with time, you become better. You start becoming more confident, and that's on growth. Make bad art for you to make good art, because that's when you can look back and be like, Jesus, did I think that was good? Because you've now become perfect. You've now become better. And God has equipped us with everything we need to fulfill our purposes. God never calls anyone who is equipped, but he equips those he called. Like, for instance, in the Bible, Moses was a stammerer, but that same Moses was to convince the king Pharaoh to let the people go. Mary was a virgin and she wasn't engaged, but God found her fit to carry baby Jesus, right? David was just this young, last-born shepherd, but God still anointed him and God still chose him. And when David was fighting Goliath, what he had was only a sling and a stone. And that's what he used to kill Goliath, right? So when you're having these moments where you are a bit too hard on yourself or even feeling undeserving, remember that God loves you so dearly much and he has a plan for you. Remember that you also hold power to silence all those voices. Just whisper like a prayer and tell God that you're in your own head a bit too much and you're trying to fight for your life. You're trying to fight for your value. Ask him to give you the peace that quiets your thought. Tell him to give you the peace that calms your heart. You need to give yourself grace. You need to forgive yourself. You need to start being kind to yourself. You need to show yourself some compassion. You have to remember you're doing your best. And if you're not, start pouring into yourself. For me personally, I'm still learning and no one is perfect. And that's the beauty of life, that we can operate even with our own imperfection. We just have to pray for God's grace, because God's grace transforms our thinking. It renews our heart. It renews our minds, right? And you have to remember that there's this quote that says, it's a famous quote that says, Our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It's our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. So stop playing small. Playing small does not serve the world. You know, you were born to manifest the glory of God that is within us. You were born to live to His promises for us. And always remember that as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And if you don't, vice versa, same thing happens. And I hope that as you live your life, as you go through this week, as you work on yourself, as you pour on yourself, as you give yourself grace, as you do your job, as you become that mom, as you operate in your relationships, give yourself grace, you know. And as the week continues, I hope that you give yourself grace as well. You know, in the book of Ephesians, it says that you have been saved by grace because you believed. You did not save yourself. It was a gift from God, and you are not saved by the things you have done. So have faith in God, and He will continue being gracious to you, okay? And with that, thank you guys for tuning in to my podcast, and thank you for always listening every Monday. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel, like and leave a comment. Let me know how you feel. Let me know what spoke to you. And I pray that you have a blessed week, and may God keep blessing you abundantly, exceedingly, as you try to figure out life. And remember, the message for the week is giving yourself grace. Don't be so hard on yourself. Forgive yourself, you know. Show yourself compassion, you know. And yeah, I hope that I'll see you again next Monday. Thank you for tuning in, and enjoy the rest of your week, and see you then. Thank you guys.